As ever, Andy Hartley's in the corner. He's got lots of paper for you to write down any questions you've got for any of our candidates. We'll go straight over to Andy.
Hello. Okay, this is for all candidates. What is the one biggest single issue facing students in 2012 with regards to welfare?
Can we start with John, please?
Single biggest issue for welfare. I think personally overall safety is the main priority naturally of everybody. I think it can be difficult to tell what the number one overall priority is, but my personal one I think would be definitely be overall as a strategy would be a daytime version of Nightline, because I think everybody potentially could benefit from it at some point. But like I say, one of our main things has been big safety during large events, because I think that can be an issue from time to time, and to make sure it's freshers and everybody gets the best Kiel experience they deserve.
Yeah. Can we have Alex next, please?
The biggest welfare issue I see is students not actively knowing their student rights. Now, students need to be empowered by knowing their rights. They know when they can appeal their accommodation fines that shouldn't have happened for various reasons, or to know that they deserve their exam feedback and various other academic and welfare issues. So students not knowing their rights is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be done now. Students are paying a lot more Students are paying a lot more from September, and they deserve to know all their rights and everything that they can do to empower and improve their university experience.
And finally, Ian, please.
I think that this year a major issue in welfare has been the whole accommodation situation. We had that thing where just before Christmas we were told that third years are no longer guaranteed. Luckily that was sorted, and I still find that making sure that students have accommodation available to them is a huge welfare issue. That's why, if elected, earlier in the year, like over October, November, I'll be running sessions on what to do with housing, what not to do, what to look for, and even if possible bringing in some landlords, getting houses sorted early, and making sure that every student has somewhere to live and they don't have to stress during their exams to try and find somewhere.
This is another question to all candidates. Overseeing the independent advice unit is within your remit. What is your understanding of the unit, and what would you see as the strategic direction for it over the next 5 years?
And can we start with Alex this time, please?
In regards to the IAU, as Andy just mentioned, was mentioned in the question, there is a 5-year strategic plan. There will be a rebranding as it comes downstairs. As part of the IAU, just come downstairs with the new ground floor redevelopment. So there'll be a rebranding, and it will be visible to students. It will be on the ground floor, it will be fully advertised, and people will know it's there. And students do need to know that it's there. It's an important service that students don't know enough about, and it's an essential service. The advisors up there work really hard to fight accommodation issues, take on caseloads, and really support their students. So in regards to the IAU, the most important thing is promoting them, because they do such a great job at the moment. They just need to be known and recognised for it, really.
And can we have Ian next, please?
Yeah, as Alex says, the IAU, or the Independent Advice Unit, just in case you weren't sure, the biggest thing that's happened to it obviously is moving downstairs, where it can be in full sight of students. Students are definitely going to know where it is. It's going to be a lot more accessible. It's going to be a lot easier just to go in there, even if it's just a quick question, just something that you'd like to find out. But definitely, I think, as it's moving downstairs, it's got so many opportunities to it, just to advertise itself, get itself known to students, and make people just aware of what it does.
And finally, John, please.
I definitely agree the independent advice unit's a vital part of this university. I think moving it, I'd agree, I think moving it downstairs is fantastic. But I think definitely more opening times, and I think definitely more promotion would be a good idea. Perhaps on more than on the Facebook and the email servers, I think would definitely be an option for it. And I think for its advancing forwards, I think just generally being more there, more open. Maybe even in the busiest of like nights out and everything, when you can most need the advice, and in the middle of exam time, of course. I think it's like I said, I think it's opening times and it's just accessibility is just the most important thing, because I know they do a great job. Thank you.
This is another question for all candidates. The safety bus is there for only priority demographics, not a free ride home. Agree or disagree?
Can we start with Ian, please?
If you've read my manifesto, you can see the safety bus is a big issue in my view, mainly because of the different demographics. I think that while the priority system is obviously there, it could be better enforced, and I feel that at the moment it's single ladies, single men, groups of ladies, groups of men, and then just mixed groups. But currently it doesn't work exactly like that. Like, I've seen single girls just say like, oh, here's my boyfriend, can he come with me? And she clearly doesn't know him, but yeah, that can still get on. I think the biggest priority was just to try and be to enforce this system and making sure the priorities of the safety bus and the different demographics are shown clearly, and that people aren't not afraid, but not willing to use it, because I know they just won't be able to get on for several hours at a time.
Can we have John next, please?
Well, I think the safety bus is obviously there as, well, I suppose I do agree to an extent that it is just a free-lift home if you live nearby. But yeah, I would definitely say for priority, having benefited it from personally myself when I really needed it, when it was a nasty hangover the next day. Yeah, I think definitely a mixture of both, and the priority system is there. But I think if it's run as fast as it can be, it should be there for everybody to use. Hopefully, we won't need a priority system eventually, and that is what I think we should be aiming for.
In regards to prioritisation of the safety bus, one of the big points in my manifesto is a safety shuttle bus service from the library. Now, in respect to prioritisation, you have the issue that you have students who are coming out of the union at 2, 3 o'clock after it's closed, who are by themselves and do need that service to get home. You'll also have, with the 24-hour library, students that need to get back from there as well. Now, prioritising that is going to be an issue. Do you take over the more intoxicated student or the studying student? There's arguments for both sides, but the prioritisation system in the safety bus is something that does need to be addressed and will be something that I look into.
There's another question to all candidates. What experience do you have with dealing with welfare issues?
Can we start with John this time, please?
Dealing with welfare issues, well, I've applied to be an e-mentor. I've passed everything, just waiting to get the right people to get the students assigned to me. I found this was pretty challenging, and I think I became aware. I had to pass a test of all the issues of how to notice if a child's being looked after properly and everything. Realised how important it was. That I think is in itself pretty significant. Also for welfare, I think I've had to deal with a couple of situations where you can tell people have been pretty distressed, and to my knowledge I feel I've managed to resolve them pretty satisfactorily. Also in regards to welfare, generally I've just had to be somebody for people to talk to, with friends-wise on nights out and everything, and during exam time. And I feel it's always been pretty successful overall so far. so far. Yes, I think I've got quite a bit of experience with dealing with just generally people who are feeling quite pretty in a bad way. Thank you.
Can we have Alex next, please?
My experience with welfare issues is generally in a very campaigning sense. Campaigns are a big thing in my manifesto, and I do feel that awareness is a key issue for welfare issues especially. So being aware of the problems that are actually there is an important and key role of the welfare portfolio. I also talk about active problem solving in my manifesto, where effectively I would have an open office door policy, as the current Vice President Welfare has, in where students can just drop in and talk to me about their problems, and if I can't solve it there for them, I can point them in the right direction for the Independent Advice Unit or the Student Support Services over in Walter Mobley. And yeah.
And finally, Ian.
Yep, I've had quite a few experiences with dealing with welfare issues now myself. For the last 3 years I've been a supervisor at my local co-op, and I've dealt with several grievances cases there. Aside from that though, I'm also the publicity and fundraising officer of Nightline, in which I run campaigns on the different topics that could affect people, and I've also been the men's representative this year, and I'm literally always there. If anyone has any issues, they can come to me about anything.
Okay, we're going to move on to questions for individual candidates. This is from the concourse. To Ian, you have spoken about improving off-campus accommodation and liaisons with lazy landlords. Could you give us an example of exactly how would you go about implementing these improvements?
Yeah, that's what, like earlier I spoke about in the earlier months of the first semester, opening up like a workshop for students which I promote actively, and get several landlords come in and then talk about the experiences, what they should be looking out for, what they shouldn't be looking out for, making sure that students are aware. I've had experiences myself when looking for a house, as we had a bad landlord sort of went while we were looking for a house, but luckily we found out that he wasn't the real deal and we managed to find someone else. But I think that's a major issue, just making sure that students don't fall into the trap of going into a bad landlord.
This next question is also from concourse. It's to John and Alex. Issues/concerns with the safety on campus have cropped up quite often in most of your manifesto. While more foot patrols and shuttle buses are ideal, how are you going to go about funding volunteers for these jobs? Or if not volunteers, finding volunteers for these jobs. If not volunteers, how would you go about organising funding for this?
Can John answer that one first, please?
Well, first of all, I think funding for issues is vital, naturally, with safety. I think generally making the union probably more events at the union. I know that's quite a wide way to put it, but I think that's the best way to raise money, and just generally that is the best way to raise the budget. Also, I just think generally raising awareness, and did you say with volunteers, wasn't it? Yeah, I think definitely with the volunteer office upstairs, which is a really good system for awards system, we could organise something for hours you spend doing that to go towards one of your awards, perhaps. I think that would be one way of addressing that issue, but funding-wise, I think make the university more events, definitely, and also I think there's plenty of room to be. I think there's plenty of room to be made for that, definitely. Sorry. What was the last bit of that question?
About funding for if you can't find volunteers.
Sorry.
About funding teams if you can't find volunteers.
Oh, sorry, funding things can't by volunteers, sorry. Right, sorry. For funding, I think it would definitely be, looking at the budget of the union and see where it would be the most effectively spent. Because after all, at the end of the day, safety, as I've said in my manifesto, is a priority, and I think most of us would prioritise that above most things. I'm sure everyone would agree. Okay. Well, I think also the funding can be found in, I'm sure if I ever got the job, I would look to definitely areas where to find this in more detail. But, to be honest, but on the surface, I think generally just making more events available is the obvious answer. Thank you.
And Alex? Yeah, funding is a very key issue for the future of this safety shuttle bus service that I am looking to implement. I've been in various meetings to discuss this manifesto point. I was in a meeting just last week with the Pro-Vice Chancellor Marilyn Andrews, and she assured me that there is a set pot of funding from the university. There is a ring-fenced amount of money that goes towards funding the safety buses that we do offer. The university are very much for this service, and I think it's a brilliant service that is run by students and it is for students, and the funding there will cover the shuttle bus I'm planning. Now, in terms of how the safety shuttle bus could be ran, as in would it do hourly trips up until a certain time, would it do more trips on busier nights, less on weekends where the 24-hour library is usually less utilised, especially late in the night and in the early morning, then yeah, there is scope for that, but for the time I've seen the statistics and the 24-hour library, it's very well utilised, especially between the hours of 11 and 3. So there is scope of working with the Students' Union and the library in conjunction to really push for the safety bus service for students that are in the library late at night who live off campus.
The next question is for Ian Friedman. You are running for essentially the campaigning role in the union. Why haven't you mentioned campaigns in your manifesto?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I guess while I was writing my manifesto, I considered freebies to come under campaigns, as I do have many campaigns planned, but all involve wanting to give freebies to students, and so for some reason I felt that freebies did cover campaigns, but I do understand. But no, generally I do have a lot of campaigns planned, and which all offer freebies. So.
Next question is to Alex Clifford. You mentioned creating awareness, improving communications, and developing new campaign strategies. How do you plan doing this?
Sorry, could you just repeat the last part for me, Andy?
I'll repeat it. You mentioned creating awareness, improving communications, and developing new campaign strategies. How do you plan on doing this?
For me, creating campaigns and running awareness is communication. It's communicating an issue and raising awareness for that issue to a wide range of the students' body. There is many ways you can do this. There's always a dysfunctional stall down in the bottom floor of on the ground floor of the union. There's poster campaigns, there's viral videos, there's a lot you can do to create awareness for an issue and effectively communicate it to the students. And I feel I have these bold and original ideas that will communicate these important issues to students, issues such as sexual health, such as mental health awareness, nightline, mediation, LGBT issues, all of the SLS services and welfare societies, they could be better represented through the communication of campaigns.
This next question is to John Flynn. Your manifesto appears to be ill-informed about the 24-hour library next year, with your point about opening the library until midnight. What research have you done to support your 24-hour library? Support 24-hour library or would you like to close at midnight as per your manifesto?
Personally, I think it's whichever is most effective. I think I'd be all for going, let's say, on a 24-hour pilot basis, maybe. For, let's say, 2-3 weeks. And if it was, let's say, the most effective, I mean, on big nights out, obviously, not too many of you are going to be doing, let's say, loads of studying and things. Yeah, I'll be willing to give 24-hour pilot, whichever is most effective, and I think for the education, naturally, of everybody. But if midnight turned out to be the most effective, I would stick with that. But like I say, if 24 hours turned out to be the most effective, I am all for it.
Are there any further questions? Would candidates like the opportunity to ask one other candidate another question, and we'll ask that in order of plus. So, John?
So what was that question? Sorry.
Would you like to ask another candidate a question? Alex? And yeah. Okay, thank you very much.